Okay, we are broadcasting now. This is the Avocado pre-release and planning meeting. My name is Amador. I'm an Avocado developer, and I will be the meeting facilitator today. We will use the Trello board for most of the meeting. I will share my screen with the board here, and if you want to access the Trello board by yourself, you can go to the Avocado framework page and click in Trello here. So you will have access to the Trello board itself, but I will present the cards that we worked in this release. And also we will discuss the next sprint. Please keep your mic on mute while not speaking. And let's start from the top of the done items for the sprint. Okay, this sprint we had this functional parallel test for a log file. We introduced a couple of sprints ago new feature, a new utility that is used to provide a locking mechanism for files, and now we have this functional test for it. This is a bug that was fixed. Read the docs page was not showing the correct version of Avocado in the page tile, and it's fixed now. Avocado configuration file couldn't handle the tilt as a valid path in some sections. So now we have a new type of setting called path. You can define the type as path, and we will automatically expand the tilt when you provide a path with the tilt in it, like tilde/avocado/something. This will be converted to the actual path if you provide the new type path here. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can both write in the chat in Hangout or in IRC channel. Multiplexer disable automatic conversion for everything but values. When we have in the multiplex file something that can be converted to, like true can be converted to a Boolean, but it's not an actual value, but a key, we could have some problems, and now we are not converting everything, we are converting just the values itself, and for the keys they will be just passed as a string and not converted anymore. This is another bug. The VM domain might try to log in via incorrect IP. The problem here is that in some cases, if you don't provide the VM host name, Avocado will probe the IP address, and that IP address could be changed between two executions, or mainly if we had to start the virtual machine. And right now we have this new way to work with the IP address probe, and Avocado will probe the IP address from the QEMU guest agent. So the QEMU guest agent is now required for the IP probe from Avocado. So if you don't have the QEMU guest agent in the virtual machine itself, Avocado will not be able to probe the IP anymore, but this is the reliable way to probe the IP address. So it's now fixed by introducing this new way to probe the IP address. I see someone has opened the mic. Do you have any questions so far? Nothing.
It's now fixed.
By the way, regarding this card, it's still possible to specify the domain hostname and force Avocado to join via the IP address if you don't have guest agent installed. This is only about the automatic detection, which is unreliable. The only unreliable way is with the guest agent. So, yeah, that's one thing.
Yes, thank you. We had this card, which is sysinfo fails silently. When we don't have the configuration files for sysinfo, the files that specify the list of files that we have to collect in sysinfo, or the file that specifies the commands that we have to run in the system. And also the profilers. When we don't have those configuration files, sysinfo was used to fail silently, and right now we are introducing these debug messages to the log files so users can know what's happening and also note that the files are missing. We also fixed this bug where Avocado HTML plugin was not behaving as it should. What it means is that when you install Avocado using the RPM, and if you don't install the HTML RPM as well, executing Avocado, you will see the message that the HTML plugin is missing, and it should not be like that because it's a plugin. So with these fix, now they are completely separate RPMs, and you can install one or both, and this message will not bother users anymore. This is a card for contribution guide improvements, including the collaboration workflow. The documents, they are up to date right now. We put there a good workflow based on Git, and this workflow was discussed for some time in the devel list, and we had also good reviews before merging this code, and it's available on contribution guide. You can go there and check it out. It's a proposed workflow so users can get started collaborating through Avocado and related repositories and projects. This is a request to include all environment variable to C. So when we get the sysinfo information, it will be easily put on Avocado diff. I mean, different language or encoding will not generate differences between sysinfo informations.
Again, this is configurable. You can disable it and you will use your current lang or LCL actually in the system, or you can configure any language you want.
Yes, it's default to C, but you can customize it in Avocado configuration file, right? And this is a won't fix, something that we thought it was a bug, but it wasn't in fact. Bug the power on hangs when the QMO process dies. For example, if you provide something that actually exists, but it's not the actual QMO binary in Avocado Vert, then the process stayed there like hanging forever, and now we have a timeout for the socket operations, and this bug will not affect Avocado Virt anymore. This card started with a request to collect journal output instead of our log message, but it turns out that it generated 4 different commits fixing and shaping some aspects of the sysinfo messages collection. And now we have improved way to collect both the var log messages or any log files from any distribution, and also collect from journal CTL the messages that happen during a test execution. Actually, I will show you this new journal CTL collection working. Let me share my other screen here. Okay, so here I have a test that just writes to syslog, and before dispatch we were not collecting the journal CTL messages, and after dispatch, which I mean in this version that I'm running here, I have dispatch applied. So this test, it's supposed to write to syslog. If I check my journal, the message is there, and Avocado was not collecting this message before. So right now I have the Avocado app results, latest test results, the test itself, sysinfo, post. Now I have the journal CTL message. They are gzipped. And here what we will find is just the diff that happened in journal CTL during the test itself. It's not it's not only the messages that the test generated in syslog, but the message that happened during the test execution. We collect the point of journal CTL before the test, and we get the diff after the test. Let me get back to the Trello board. Okay, the next one is improve installation from pip. Kleber will talk a bit about this. Please, Kleber.
Yeah, so we briefly mentioned this in the last sprint. We were doing some cleanups and some improvements to setup.py. We moved to setup tools a while ago, but on pip, we had this misunderstanding, to be honest, about the naming of the project, and we kept the name on repositories like pypi as Avocado framework, but inside the project itself, we named it Avocado. And there was really no reason to do that, and we have now really fixed that once and for all. And what that means is that users can, after we actually release version 41 today, users should be able to do something like pip install Avocado framework and have it installed, and they can actually check the dependencies with the standard Python tools like package resources. They can say on their projects that they require Avocado framework on a given version. This is actually true for something that we... So just to give an example on that, we now have an optional plugins directory. The HTML report is now an optional plugin, and we declare that Avocado framework is a requirement for that. So if your project somehow depends on Avocado framework, this can be done. And if you install from pip your own project or even Avocado, you can just mention that you need it and installation should be performed. Since we don't have the version 41 packages installed, I'm just going to show you how env and installing from Git instead, but using pip. So I'm going to create a virtual env. It should be Avocado here, but we do have a local Python, and so I can do pip install.
Kleber, Google keeps muting you, so I don't know if you can unmute yourself and tell Google to not.
Let me try that. Maybe I have another mic open. Let me check. No, I only have one mic open, but I'll keep an eye on that. So you guys can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so GitHub, I'll point to Avocado. The only requirement that pip has is that you have to name the egg. So framework goes here. Do this. It's going to collect Avocado from Git. It's going to install all the base dependencies. So, and I'm going to give a brief explanation on this, but the end result is that Avocado framework version 40, this is actually a pre-41, should be installed and available to use. So we have most of the plugins enabled, what we call like core plugins. And we decided not to actually list requirements for all the plugins like remote, VM, Docker. And the reason is that we also intend to make those optional plugins. So in the next releases, we are going to work on that. So a base Avocado install should be available out of pip. And that's one of the changes that we introduce on this release. And that's about it for this feature.
But if I can add one bit, if you install the dependencies of Avocado Docker or remote, they start working again. It's not that like that we don't install the plugins. It's just that the requirements are not installed if you install Avocado framework from pip.
Right. You can do make requirements if you have access to the source tree, or even pip install -r and point to the requirements file as well. So we did not. We decided not to replicate the information that is on requirements.txt because we actually want to give the core Avocado to users that install that way. And users can do when we push plugins as individual packages, users could in the future do things like pip install Avocado runner VM, Avocado runner Docker, or things like that when we actually make them external plugins.
Okay.
So one moment. So if I understand properly, so the make requirements is going to go away in future, right? With the pip install of Avocado framework, will install all the dependencies.
Yeah, I mean, requirements.txt, even though it's a de facto standard, it's used all around most Python projects. It's not really well defined. What I mean is there's no PEP on that. And we feel that the modularization of Avocado is something we've been working towards, so users can use the basic Avocado on systems with not much more than standard Python. So the way we are progressing is to move requirements. So on this release, just to give an example, we have removed the HTML report plugins from the requirements file, and we have moved that to setup.py on the optional plugin. So given that this trend continues, we are going to remove the requirements from those files into their own plugins. In the end, requirements.txt can indeed go away.
Yeah, sure. Club. Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you, Clever. Next item here is discard to set and properly announce the policy for avocado mist test. We have this. We were used to have this avocado mist test repository. It was a general purpose test repository. Initially, it was populated with tests that were ported from Autotest client tests to Avocado, but then we started receiving contributions from the community, and the number of pull requests on this repository became something really great. I mean, we received a great number of collaborations, but on the other hand, we could not handle that much of pull requests and code reviews, and it was not the Avocado core team main responsibility, so it was always something lower priority for us. So we created this card so we could evaluate and announce the policy for this kind of repository, and we ended up with a set of assumptions that Avocado team will no longer maintain these test repositories. We created a new organization on GitHub called Avocado Framework Tests, and under this new organization we are creating new test repositories that can be community maintained. So we will allow under request community members to be maintainers in that repositories, but we still encourage the companies or the users to create and maintain the test repositories by themselves, and we will happily list the repositories that are publicly available in our documentation, the same way that we already have the Avocado Framework Tests, Avocado MISC Test repository, which is this one. We will act the same way for any publicly community maintained repository that is available. So this is the proper announcement about our policy for Avocado MISC tests and for any additional test repository that that can appear from now on. Okay, so this is the end of the DOM items for this release. We will now take a look at the work in progress and the sprint backlog items. Some of them are items that are cross-release that are being worked for some time now and will probably take some time to be ready. From top to bottom, we have the job API. I'd like to invite Clever to talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this is actually really being worked on. It has sit there for a couple of releases, but I've really picked it up now. And the goal is to post a reply to the original first version of the job API, and that concentrates both on the plugin aspects and how to control plugins and how to set an environment for a given job to actually execute. The first approach described on the original job API RFC was that if users could control the environment given to a job, and the job relies on that information to actually run, a big number of use cases could be solved by that approach. So just to give one example, if the user can say that for a given job, the runner that should be run is, say, the remote runner for a given test, and after that test is run, if the user can switch the configuration and say that the IP address that the remote runner should use is a different one, then we could have, in theory, one job that actually runs one test on one machine and a second test on another machine. So the goal of the job API is to allow the user to tweak the job by having a consistent and predictable API. And this next version is going to show how we propose to do that with regards to configuration. So how the user can configure the job at runtime to, say, use a different plugin or a different host name to connect to and things like that. And we have seen that many use cases could be solved by that alone. So expecting the next couple of days on RFC on that, and I would really appreciate feedback because this is one of the features that are really targeted towards end users, and it would be really nice to have a validation that it's going to bring enough flexibility to the various use cases you guys may have.
So this job API is going to be supported for both Mistest and Avocado VT?
It's actually something that has a scope in Avocado itself. So it should apply transparently to Avocado VT. With regards to how the user can create a job and add tests, one of those tests could be an Avocado test, like a non-VT, or it could be an Avocado VT test. So in general terms, it's not specific to Avocado VT or any other plugin. So yes, like Lukash is saying, you can mix and match them.
Okay, it's going to be a wrapper and layer on top of Avocado Mistest and VT and Docker. Any of the tests.
It's not. No, it's not really intended to be any layer above those. The idea is to get the job class that we already have inside Avocado. So right now, how users create jobs is by running Avocado on the command line. So Avocado run and a given list of tests, and that can include regular tests or VT tests or any kind of test whatsoever. The idea is that we can allow users to create their own jobs by using the job class and not the Avocado command line. So by doing that, instead of, say, right now when you create a job and you want that job to run on a remote machine, you only have the option of providing one parameter, which is the IP address, and all of the tests inside a given job are going to run on that place. But when you go and use the job class yourself, if you can instantiate a job class and say, oh, please run it on this machine, and you run one test on that machine. And then after that, by using the API, you change the configuration and say, oh, the second test I want to run somewhere else, or with more sysinfo collection or less sysinfo collection with an extra plugin enabled or a given plugin disabled. And then you run another test, and this actually applies to the second test. So the idea is to expose the job API to, let's say, advanced writers, advanced test writers, job writers, so they can achieve things that are not possible with the command line alone.
Yeah, super. I got that. Yeah, sure. So that's more of an independent env for environment for each individual test. That the earlier virtualization test.
That was one example, but the idea is to let you actually create the jobs that you want. So you could have in a Python script, you create two different jobs and you just manipulate them the way you want. And for one of the results, you want to save somewhere, and for the other one, you want to maybe discard the job results. So it's just a way to go under the hood and use the functionality we already have with more flexibility.
Sure, that would be great to have it. Yeah, I would like to validate it.
Okay,
further.
so I look forward for the replies to the RFC.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
for example, my use case would be that I run an unattended install test, and if that one fails, I don't want to run any other unattended install. Any other tests dependent on this test. But I do want to run tests which don't depend on system, like for example QEMU tests, which does not require valid guess. So that would be
Exactly.
one of my
Yeah,
use case.
those thing was not there for quite a long time from BT perspective. Yes, yeah, that would be great to have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that we already have that feeling that this is high priority, and it's nice to hear that feedback already.
Yes. Okay, another use case for this is to run different tests with different multiplex files, right?
Yeah.
Which I have been asking for some time before.
Good.
Okay, let's go ahead. We have another card here for Avocado VT, which is support or adapt host variant creation mechanism to Avocado VT. Kleber, would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, so there are no news on this card. Unfortunately, I had to sit there in work in progress. Just to give you guys an idea what this is, there are a couple of tests on Avocado VT which we detected that were dependent on some internal tools, and we don't want internal tools to impact like upstream tests. So I already evaluated how we could, how that tool works, and next step would be to propose a way to actually make all that into upstream Avocado VT. So an honest update is it's still sitting there. I haven't actually proposed anything.
Okay, next one, job time should be the wall clock time. We had some advances with the HTML plugin, which was prerequisites for this one, right?
Yeah, so as I said before, this is kind of a umbrella card, which we started to work on a lot of stuff that actually was required to make this little issue actually work. It signaled an internal design that was kind of broken. So what we are doing, what we have been doing, is to actually move the job generation result outside of the job itself, so we can run the job. This is also going to impact the idea of the job API. So when a job runs and when it finishes running, then we can generate results with given plugins that actually inspect the job information. And the human interface is a result plugin, which will then say, oh, the amount of information, the amount of time that took to run that job is this amount of time. Right now, when we're doing that inside the job itself, there's a chicken and egg problem. So the job is still active and we're generating results from inside the job. So how can we say that the job has finished running if we're still performing some actions on it? So for this release, we have defined, we have moved the HTML result. We have defined the interface for other results like JSON and XUnit, and we took that outside the core job class. And for this release, we have made the HTML result move as well, so it's not core anymore, it's completely optional. Next step is to do the same for the what we have been calling streamable test results. So that's those test results that actually output stuff, messages, what else, on given test updates events. So when a test starts running, finishes running, fails, and everything else. So a human result is one of them. Tap is another. So this is what's left now. We're going to work on those streamable event-based test results on this release. And at the end, we're going to have fully pluggable test results at the end of this card. So just to give a quick, very, very quick example, let me just share a screen here. So before this release, we would have Avocado, and HTML result would be a core functionality of Avocado. So even though we only have Avocado and not the plugins output HTML package installed, things were going to be broken with regards to the HTML plugin, because it was not a plugin in the full Python concept of it. So on this release, if I install a pre-41 version, they are now really plugins, and I have the HTML result installed. So if the HTML result kicks in, but if then it simply goes away. There's no, because it's a real plugin. And this is what we intend to do with the other plugins, what we call streamable. So that's going to be valid for tap and for the human result as well. Internally, it is an internal issue, but internally it's moving out of the job class and outside the job class itself. So that's the current status.
Okay, thank you. I guess your mic was muted.
Oh, really?
Some points of your explanation, but it was not that hard to get the point. So I think we all could understand your explanation.
Hangouts is playing tricks on me.
Also, we have this card that was created some good time ago, which is the multiplex from the test parameter handling system. Lukasz, talk something about this? Something?
Yeah, basically last sprint I finished the RFC, it's settled, and this sprint I worked on the actual implementation. Yeah, I sent the pull request last week, and it still needs some polishing, so it didn't got into this release. But hopefully, you'll have a functional way by the next week, probably. So yeah, prepare for some minor changes. Ideally, this is a refactories, which means it should not affect you, but there are some changes as well. The idea is to move the multiplexer, the YAML parser outside from Avocado and create a real plugin, and to avoid the dependencies if not necessary, and also to define the API to actually create the test parameters in order to allow, for example, coexistence with other plugins or just variables injection. Yeah, so yeah,
okay.
Watch out for changes.
Okay, thank you. Next one, still work in progress, is the experiment with filtering by test tags. This was something that was requested some time ago, and we had a first version that was able to filter using one tag by test, and Kleber is going to provide a new version soon, I guess, right, Kleber?
Yeah. Just one update on that. During the last call, myself, Lukasz, and Amador, we noticed that this first draft, which was really a draft and experiment, we added a parameter called tags to the various methods that are involved with locating the test and filtering it. And we don't think that's a good approach to actually propose for good. So on the next version, we intend to add an optional filter parameter, and this filter can actually be a collection of tags, test names, and various other options that users may want to provide to actually filter the test they want to locate and run. So just an update on what the next version can look like.
Okay, the goal here is basically to identify tests some way and then run only some tests.
Right.
And last one, still work in progress, improve ISO 9660 library on Avocado, Lukasz.
Yeah, basically nothing major here. There used to be this library to treat ISO 9660, and it has several backends depending on whether you are a root or whether you have several tools installed. And there was this inconvenience that, or inconsistency that one of them supported the MMT there, which was basically the content of the ISO mounted in the system, which was only available for root, and it was not available for other providers, usually the non-root providers. Yeah, so I described several ways to make this allow this this optional for all the providers, and we will try to find the right balance. Honestly, I don't think that the fourth one option, which basically means to extract the disk on the local hard drive, is really an option. So I'll probably focus on the 1, 2, or 3, or all of those 3 items to make it available for configured system with non-root, but probably not going to add the support to extract it, unless unless you really want this feature. You can always pick it up and implement it, but it would be really power hungry. I mean, extracting CD one file by one.
And just to make everybody aware, this impacts Avocado not only, but Avocado VT users, and depending on the unattended install test that they choose, the version of the unattended install, they may require root to actually do this and just kind of fail silently. So what we're trying to do is to make the backends behave the same way, even if you are not root, so you can have the same experience on Avocado VT and unattended install test, no matter the method you choose to use.
Okay, thank you, guys. For the sprint backlog, we still have the some cards that did not make it for this sprint. They are going to be kept in the backlog for the next sprint, and we will work on that in this period that is starting today. If you guys have any question, please let me know so we can discuss now, and then we go to the next part of the meeting, which is to prioritize and to create the new list for the new sprint that's coming. Okay, so right now we have some cards in the short-term backlog that were already prioritized. If you have something that you want to have extra attention or raise the importance, please let us know. I will create now the list for the new sprint, and while I'm creating the list and renaming the columns, you can take a look on the short-term backlog and prioritize anything that you want. I mean, I'm talking specifically with Kleber, Lukash, and Ademar that can change the things here, or anyone else that can see the things and raise their hands so we can take a look at anything that you want.
So, Ademar, can we go ahead and pick stuff from the short-term backlog?
Yes, go ahead. I think it's relatively well prioritized. There is nothing else that I see here that needs prioritization. You still have a bunch of large items from Sprint 41, so.
So the lists were updated. Kleber will be the next sprint owner, so you should also name the release, right? If you don't have any name now, you can just put in the Trello board afterwards.
It's going to sound cliche, but I got a recommendation from Ademar to watch Stranger Things. A dentist was also a second guy that recommended me, and I have watched it, and I have recommended to a bunch of people, so that's how it's going to be called.
You are a bit late to the party, but
yeah, I know. I'm usually a late adopter, so.
Okay, so Stranger Things it is.
And I hope Stranger Things don't make into that release.
Okay, guys, this brings us to the end of the meeting. We have good number of new cards in the sprint backlog, still some big items being worked in the work in progress. We can expect the release in the next few days. The test plan was successful with some exceptions, but we had some expected issues. Naming those issues, they were the spelling check errors that we are used to fix every release, so it's expected. And another one is the new requirement for the QEMU guest agents when not providing the hostname or IP address for VM plugin when using the VM domain name and not providing the host name. So we have a sound code right now. We can expect the RPMs and the actual release announcement in the next couple of days. If you guys have anything else, please speak now. Okay, so thank you all for joining. I hope this release can be really enjoyed for you guys, and see you in 3 weeks.
Thanks a lot, Amador. Thanks all for attending. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye bye.